Frida Kahlo is among the most famous Mexican artists of the 1900s. She was known especially for her disturbing style and her many unsmiling self-portraits. Frida Kahlo grew up on the outskirts of Mexico City. She spent much of her life living in her family home called La Casa Azul, the Blue House. Today, her blue home has been transformed into the Frida Kahlo Museum. Frida's mother, Matilde, was a native Mexican and her father, Guillermo, was a German immigrant. She had 3 sisters and 2 half-sisters. Much of Frida's life was filled with pain. She suffered from the disease polio at 6 years old and walked with a limp for the rest of her life. At 18, she was nearly killed in a bus crash. Her injuries were so severe that she spent many weeks in the hospital. Frida had never really considered art as a career until after the bus accident. During her recovery, Frida turned to art for something to do. To help her pass the time, Kahlo's parents set her up with painting materials and a mirror. This was when she began painting self-portraits. Frida painted about 70 self-portraits. The self-portraits demonstrated in her face her feelings of love, loss, and passion for those whom she loves. In her self-portraits, Khalo celebrated her features of upper lip hair, striking unibrow, and aspects of her Mexican identity. One of Khalo's earliest self-portraits was titled Self-Portrait in a Velvet Dress. Her self-portraits all have some element of pain and anguish, whether it is physical, as portrayed in The Wounded Deer, or emotional, like Self-Portrait with Thorn Necklace and Hummingbird. She started to use art as a way to express her emotion and her views of the world around her. Since Frida's life was filled with physical pain, suffering is often the central theme in her paintings. She often included skulls, daggers, and bleeding hearts in her paintings. Once she was well, she showed her paintings to the famous Mexican painter Diego Rivera. Rivera loved her work. He encouraged her and promoted her work to others. Khalo and Rivera married in 1929. After their marriage, the 2 artists traveled to the United States in 1930, where they worked, traveled, and Rivera painted a series of murals. Khalo drew attention as she dressed in traditional dress that highlighted her Mexican identity, using vivid colors and long skirts, sometimes with elaborate headpieces made of flowers. Frida and Diego had a very rocky marriage, and they divorced in 1939 and then remarrying again in 1941. In 1953, she developed gangrene and had to have the lower half of one leg amputated. Frida Kahlo died in 1954 at her own home at only 47 years old. The cause of her death is uncertain, though official records list it as pulmonary embolism. Although Frida had some success as an artist during her lifetime, she struggled to make a living from it. She was becoming well known in the United States and Europe, but people in her home country of Mexico had never heard of her. Since her death on July 13, 1954, her artwork was rediscovered by art historians in the 1970s. To this day, Khalo's fame only continues to grow, and her legacy is ever expanding. Like many artists, she is more appreciated now than during her own lifetime. Thanks for taking the time to learn about Frida Kahlo with me today. I'll see you next time.